Poddin My Noggin, hosted by CK Sims, creating a platform to elevate, educate, and heal by creating a space where people can share their stories of struggle, triumph, and redemption. CKS Media.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Poddin My Noggin. I'm your host, CK Sims, and this week we are joined by Dr. Orzie Cook. So, welcome to Poddin My Noggin.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh gosh, your story I love, and I really want to dig into it because, as I was mentioning before we started filming, it's two things that are very important in my life. So just so everyone knows, Orzie is the founder of Praline's Backyard Foundation. Now, first time you hear that, I'm thinking sweets and cookies, something like that. But it goes so much deeper, and I think it's so much sweeter than just sweets and cookies when you think about the work that you're doing. So how would you define your work currently?
The work with the foundation really is making sure no survivor stays with an abuser out of lack of housing for their pet. That's just the essence of what we do, and what that looks like in tangible terms is that when a survivor reaches out to us, we will immediately provide 7 days of housing for that survivor's pet at any pet boarding facility in the country. While that pet is in a boarding facility, we're looking for a long-term foster for that pet, and our fosters will foster a pet for up to 6 months, just to provide support to that survivor, because what so often happens is the survivor will delay leaving because they don't know what's going to happen to their pet. They're going into an unsure housing situation. It's like, well, what's going to happen to my pet? Am I going to leave my pet here with my abuser, or my mom, or the shelter, whatever my next housing situation may be, may not allow my pet. And so it's like we want to take away that part of the decision. You may stay for a lot of reasons, but don't let it be out of lack of housing for your pet.
What a wonderful, and I mean, you said yourself in what you wrote to me that it's a barrier often overlooked. That is not something, and I'll be honest with you, that I had ever computed before when thinking about domestic violence or battered women leaving a situation and that being a part of the process, right? We always think kids, right?
Yeah.
We always think like financial stability or housing or things like that. We never, I don't know, I'm saying me, I'll say me, not generalize, but I never thought about the pets part. And I think that that's such an interesting call out. So for everyone, I will share this. So for everyone, Orzie and I were scheduled to meet last week. I think it was on Tuesday. However, the Sunday prior to Tuesday, I had to say goodbye to my longtime baby, Mima. I've mentioned her before, my cat. And it was such a sad, sad thing for me to do that I couldn't imagine having this conversation without being a complete emotional mess. I was already an emotional mess, so I don't know how that would have translated. Obviously, I can have conversations about it now, it being a week and a half, things like that. Grieving is weird, but, you know, I love pets and I love animals, and anyone who's cruel to animals is scum to me. Anyone who hits women is also scum to me, just being out there. So it's like the two of them paired together. I gotta know, where did this come from? How did Orzie end up on this path in her life?
Well, unfortunately, I had a lived experience with violence growing up. My father used to abuse my mother, so that was my first experience with it. And then when I went on the undergrad, I volunteered at a helpline. Then after I graduated, I went on to volunteer at domestic violence shelter because obviously it was a passion of mine just to help. This was a women's domestic violence shelter at the time. And I volunteered there for years, and what I would see among a lot of survivors is they would return to the home of their abuser, not to be with their abuser, but because that's where their pet was. And they were concerned about the safety of their pet, and they just missed their pet. They missed their pet was their comfort. We all have our pets. They provide, I say, pets are the best therapy. So they provided that comfort for them, even though they may have been in a sheltered environment and they were safe. They felt, they weren't completely whole because they were worried about their pet. They couldn't heal because they were too concerned about their pet. So what happened is they would return back to the home of their abuser because they wanted to be with their pet. And I didn't have the knowledge of how to stop that from happening. This was like over 20 years ago. And then I didn't know how to fix that problem. I was like, that's something's wrong with that they're going back to this house with the abuser, not because they want to, but they want to be with their pet. I was like, I just knew that something was wrong. And then after I stopped volunteering at the domestic violence shelter, I went on to volunteer at the Humane Society. And I volunteered there up until COVID. And what I see there was survivors would come and relinquish ownership of their pet because they were moving into a housing situation that didn't allow. They were moving in with their mom, their dad, a friend, whomever, and they didn't allow for pets, or maybe the person was allergic, different scenarios. But they were moving into an unstable housing situation. They did not allow pets. They didn't want to give up their pet, but that was a responsible thing to do in a sense. Like, I don't have housing. I don't want to leave my pet with my abuser because they may hurt the pets. Let me do this to give my pet away. And that's the responsible thing to do. But again, they do not want to give ownership. They don't want to give up their pet, but they're having to do so because of the situation. And then in the midst of COVID, I saw domestic violence rates increasing. And I know, again, this is an issue. And then it just came to me that, and at the same time, I'm going to say this, I was opening up a dog walk business here in Atlanta. And I knew that I wanted to do something to give back to my community. And so I built the foundation alongside my business. And so I was like, this is what my business is going to do. We're going to support survivors and their pets as part of our business model. And then that's kind of how it's built.
That's fantastic. I think, and so, like, current day, you're connected. Like, people are using your foundation. Like, what's your sort of like turnover rate? How does it work? Like, someone calls?
Mm-hmm. I get calls every day. I'll say on average we get about 10 calls a day at any one time, helping about 30 survivors. Is at various capacities. We're either providing housing for their pet, or providing housing through a pet boarding facility, or we are providing a foster for that pet. So it's about 30 a month. They'll come in and out or cycle out, however that works. And then that's what we handle every day. We get referrals from domestic violence shelters, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, various resources that are aware of our services. So if somebody ever is reaching out to this podcast, they can go to our website, praline'sbackyardfoundation.org. On that heading, it says for survivors. There is a page there. We actually provide all the information about your pet. And then with that initiates a call out to all the fosters in whatever that area that the survivor says they are. And then we'll contact that survivor to say immediate housing for your pet. And if they do, we'll say, let's find a pet boarding facility in your area. They'll take that pet there. We'll pay for the housing. While that pet is housed there, we will provide, we'll be looking for a foster for the longer term. But let me also make a caveat to that. People call us also wanting to know what resources are available when they leave a domestic violence situation. So not every phone call is saying they're ready to leave. But what they're doing is trying to assess what resources are available to them when they do. And that's why I tell people all the time, it's so important to become a foster. I can't tell you you're going to be a foster tomorrow. But what I'm saying, I can tell us when a survivor reaches out to me, I can say we have fosters in this area. So when you're ready, we're ready to support you in leaving your abuser.
I love that. And so you just mentioned too that like they call, it's not necessarily always about a pet.
No, well, it's not. But they're trying to know what resources are available to them. It's always about a pet. So yeah. Okay. That's pretty standard that people know that we're supporting survivors and their pets.
So where are you located? Like what city?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. However, we can support a survivor anywhere in the United States.
Okay, hold up. So you have like, okay. I did not know this. All right. So wait, now hold up. So everybody listening. So you're in Atlanta, Georgia, but you have fosters all throughout the United States?
Correct. We have a network we have a relationship with Duber.com. Duber.com provides us a resource. We are connected with them. They provide us fosters around the country. Dubert provides resources and processes for all nonprofits throughout the U.S. They provide for your local humane society in your town, in your city, rather, that they connected with Dubert because there's like hundreds of thousands of fosters that use this network. Someone could say, like you just lost your pet, unfortunately, and you may want to do a foster. Like you want to ease into maybe getting a pet, right? Your next pet, and so you want to foster. So you'll sign up with Dubert to say, I would like to foster a pet. And with us, that's what we go with Trainings Backyard Foundation. There's no foster fail. Our goal is to get the pet back to the survivor. There's no failing with us. We are going to return that pet to the survivor. So that's how we're able to work in partnership with Dubert.com, because we can also, for a pet boarding facility, I can call any city in this country as a pet boarding facility, right? Pet boarding is a billion-dollar industry in the U.S. So I can call that boarding facility and say, "Hi, can I provide housing for 7 days for this person?" I don't need that pet boarding facility to know what's going on with that survivor. I just need to know whether or not you have space for a survivor's pet or for a person's pet. They'll say yes. If they're booked, which has never happened, I would call somebody else. So essentially, I'm able to provide housing for a survivor's pet because there's a pet boarding facility in every city in this country, relatively. Maybe in a small town, but there's a town over.
But isn't that expensive?
Boarding is expensive, so yes, we take donations. Exactly. So definitely.
I was gonna say, I'm like,
yeah,
you get really expensive very quick.
Yes, and so it ranges from $40 to $100. We had a really high bill in California because I learned a lot. Like there's a lot of upselling, and so because a lot of times survivors they don't have. This is what happens. A lot of survivors do not have the vaccination records of their pet. That's why I always encourage people to have your vaccination records. Have a go bag for your pet that includes your vaccination. Even you, not me, you and I. Like I went on a vacation this weekend with my dog for the last few days. I made sure I packed her vaccination record with me because anything could happen, and I want to make sure that I'm able to provide her what she needs. Because when I put a pet in a pet boarding facility or with a pet foster, that pet needs to be up to date on their vaccinations. I cannot put a pet in a pet boarding facility or with a foster who has not been properly vaccinated. So sometimes that is an added expense to the housing of the survivor pet. And also sometimes the survivor does not have their food for their pet. So it means I have to pay for the food at that pet boarding facility for that survivor's pet. So there are different things of how that cost does escalate. However, I encourage people definitely donate. Contact your pet boarding facility and ask them to partner with us. Because I believe in partnership. Many hands make light work. I cannot do this alone. I have not done this alone. I've done it with the support of hundreds of pet boarding facilities across this country, but thousands of people who've donated to us. And I continue to ask people to continue to donate. I'm thankful for our monthly donors. So definitely this is a group effort. Definitely not doing it alone.
And so if people wanted to donate, can they do that through the website?
Yes, there's a link that says donate. Just click that link. It takes you to PayPal and it comes directly to us.
All right. So y'all that's listening, got to head over there and donate. It's weird for me because I'm still it's just something I never thought about. And
yeah,
like to me, I just, but like now that we're having this conversation and I think about it, it makes perfect sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like you want to make sure your pet's okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's so many people out there who are not for animals and so many housing situations that are like no animals allowed. All of these different situations where an animal could be left behind, but you're sort of bridging that gap and giving hope, right? Like, and giving time.
Yeah, it's time. And definitely, I tell people all the time, part of supporting a survivor is they want to know what resources are available to them. And for example, if you're leaving an abusive relationship, and you really have gone through trauma, you've gone through a level of trauma that needs healing. Sometimes, like, if you've ever been sick or you've ever just gone through an emotional relationship, you really don't feel like taking care of your pet. Not in a bad, not that you don't love this pet, not that all those things, but sometimes you need a moment to take care of yourself. And because of that, we want to make sure we provide that support to a survivor. And one way we can support them is by providing housing for their pet. So yeah, and you mentioned something earlier. People go through a lot of different housing situations. I had a housing situation yesterday with a survivor where the place where they wanted to go live, they was pet friendly. However, they wanted to see the pet first, which was I'm still working this through because the pet is with a foster, right? And so that the house, the landlord, they want to see the pet, and so that means I got to get this pet from this foster situation, have the survivor take the pet to this new landlord. Then the landlord can say, "Oh, the pet's okay, the pet's not okay." Then get the pet back to the foster. So I'm really trying to see how to work that. But it's just like there's a lot of barriers to supporting survivors and really supporting people that have housing uncertainty, because we have all these barriers. Because it's like they have a pet and the landlord wants to see the pet. I've never heard of this, but I'm learning because I've looked on different another service agency. They told me it's becoming a standard that landlords want to see the person's pet before they move in, because I don't know. I told people like Praline, my dog, with Foundation saying that she's very nice upon meeting you, but she can tear up some stuff too. So just you meeting her would not tell you when she would tear up something. So
Absolutely.
I don't
Yeah,
know if people ask that, but so I'm dealing with that situation now with the survivor. It's like I don't know how to handle it, but I'm working through it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. We're gonna go to break real quick.
Okay.
We'll be right back, everybody.
Life in Stitches by CK Sims. Available for purchase in paperback and ebook on all major platforms. Partner today with CK Sims and Poddin My Noggin to get in front of an audience that cares. You will be supporting mental health stories, tales of resilience, and uplifting content, aligning your brand with bringing goodness, authenticity, and kindness front and center. This spot could be yours. Do you have a story of struggle and resilience? One that you want to share with others and possibly help someone through their own struggles? Find the link in the show description and fill out the guest form today.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Poddin My Noggin. We are talking to Orzie Cook, Dr. Orzie Cook. She is the founder of Praline's Backyard Foundation. And before the break, we were talking about just her being awesome, really, and this incredible service that she's offering, not just in Atlanta, Georgia, but like nationwide. So we were talking about the housing crisis and landlords now wanting to see pets in person.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's kind of like meet the pet, see the pet, check the temperament,
Yeah.
whatever that may be. I mean, in addition to like the really great work that you're doing, are you finding now, like say in Atlanta, Georgia, so I'm from Canada, I'm in Canada, we have a housing crisis right now. Are you experiencing just the housing crisis in general in Atlanta and around the U.S.?
Well, in terms of affordable housing, that is a situation because it's affordable housing, and then there's a lot of as places become more and more pet friendly. There's pet rent, there's pet deposits. All these things are barriers to a person that's going through a financial. It's a barrier for someone with a full-time income and they have a pet. It's just like you got to account for all these other expenses that you may not have had before. But as pets become the standard in housing, people are adding fees onto that because we add fees to everything these days. So I think so it is a housing barrier in that sense, and the cost of rental property is very expensive. Not even dealing with buying a home, but just rent is expensive. And then the addition to that rent is pet. So it can be very discouraging for a person that has a pet and they're moving out of a uncertain. And honestly, it really is a barrier. People even leaving in a abusive relationship is trying to find affordable housing. Even if they don't want someone going to shelter, it's like I can't afford to leave. I may have a job, I may have all these things, but rent is expensive. And if you don't have the means for that, so it's like then you make things like, well, I don't want to go in. I don't even have the means. I'm necessarily going to a shelter, but cannot afford to live independently on my own. So it just really being in this work, I've learned of so many different obstacles to survivors and also to people just in a housing dilemma. Because I get called,
Yeah.
I mentioned that my focus is domestic violence survivors. However, and when you see it, when you search for it, it's more so people in crisis will provide housing for their pet. And so people can be in crisis for a number of different reasons that's not domestic violence. They could have had a fire, they could have had an eviction, they could have had a number of different things, and they're considered in crisis, but we don't support those individuals, unfortunately. We're unable to do that. But it's like there are a number of reasons that causes a person that that's in crisis to need housing for their pet. Temporarily, they don't want to give up ownership of it.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being in that situation. That's just compounding.
Yeah.
On a person's trauma, on a person's current crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were just talking, I'm having the realization because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yes, because the world is gone bananas, if you will, when it comes to the housing crisis and the cost of rent and even just trying to even become a home owner.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of it. There's barriers for people who are not in crisis and are doing what 5 years ago would have been considered very well,
mm-hmm.
now is not considered very well,
yeah.
or comfortable. So to me, I'm just also thinking about how with the cost of inflation and how with the barriers to housing, how much more trapped women are feeling from leaving.
Yeah.
And that makes me not so happy because I get it, inflation, whatever, but at the same time, we should be working towards making safe paths for women to leave.
Yeah.
And paths where they get to sort of retain some of their dignity and autonomy, all of those things. So yeah, I find this fantastic. And so people who are listening, you go to pralinesbackyardfoundation.org, and then you can follow pralines_backyard on all social media. So I gotta follow for sure. The business that you started, I didn't quite catch what business you started.
Oh, dog walking. It's a dog walking business.
So dog walking business. And so through that business of dog walking, you decided to support all of these people. How long has this foundation been open, running?
3 years now.
So how many people do you think that you would have helped?
Oh, we did our annual report in January. I don't know the number off the top of my head. I'll say on average, we've done about 30 people a month since we started. So times 12. So maybe
369, 60.
I would say about under 500 every year. So something like that. I'll say I'm not doing math in my head very well, but I'm a little under 500. I'll say, and that's because some numbers are some months are higher than 30. I'm just doing the average, but 30 is like the minimum. So yeah.
But that's a lot of people.
Yeah. Yes. But our goal is to double each year. So that's the goal. But because I tell people 30, it means 30 to 30 people. It means the world to the people that we do help every month. And so I'm really thankful that we're able to do that. But there is so much more that we aim to do. Like even Red Rover is an awesome organization that supports domestic violence survivors as well. And they have a goal of making 25% of all domestic violence shelters, making 25% of all domestic violence shelters pet friendly by 2025. Right now, only 18% of shelters in the U.S. are pet friendly, which means the shelter provides some level of accommodation for the pet, either on site or with partnership with a pet humane society, something like that. So less than 25%. So that means 75% of people that are leaving 75% of people leaving a domestic violence situation that are going into a shelter do not have housing for their pet. That is a huge gap in services that we recognize that the foundation cannot do alone. But again, many hands make light work. So that any other organizations out there or people out there that want to support survivors know that there is a need because we have this huge 75% that still need help. And the Red Rovers campaign is 25% by 2025. That's not even a lot. 25%, it's still 75% of shelters are not. So yeah.
And while I don't want to generalize, I do consider myself to be a relatively in touch, woke, and sort of um, up on the times type individual, right? Like I like to read, I like to know statistics and all of those things. So I think you're doing two things here, right? I think that you are creating a safe space for animals to go to while domestic abuse or domestic violence victims are getting themselves situated and sorted out and healing and tending to themselves. But then also, I think that you're raising consciousness because I don't know if I wish I could do a poll and it could reach 1 million people so we could get some real statistics here. But I don't know how many people would actually think or have actually stopped in the process of when they're thinking about a domestic violence survivor, thinking about the pet. And it's sad because to me, if I was in a domestic violence situation and I had to leave my Mima when she was alive behind, that would that would be really difficult. And yeah, so like I don't know why I haven't thought of it before or why I haven't connected those dots. I think perhaps maybe if the psychology of it is that you're really so focused on the seriousness of that human being's trauma that you're just thinking, you know, get them out, get them safe, end of story. And we're not pausing to really think of the whole holistic part of domestic violence because it's such a nuanced, multifaceted situation and it's different for every person. It's not one size that fits all.
Yeah. And that's,
so,
and that's part of the
go ahead.
is to educate 10 million people because just like you, people really did not know or do not know. So our goal is to educate 10 million people. And that 10 million represents the 10 million people each year in the U.S. who experience domestic violence. And I tell people all the time, that's 10 million people that are documented. We know statistics the numbers are much higher than that because every situation does not enter into the I want to say the law enforcement system, right? So we want to educate 10 million. So we educate 10 million. Those 10 million are going to educate one more person. So we'll educate 20 million. So that's why I tell people on our social media, our campaign is always follow, like, and share to help us educate 10 million people. It's not about the follows, it's about building a community who are aware and woke, as you call it. So, because when people are woke and they're aware, they're able to make a change in the community. They can advocate for their pet boarding facility to be a housing or a safe haven for a survivor's pet. They can become a volunteer at a local shelter or humane society. They can foster a survivor's pet. We all have a role to play, and it's on our area and our comfort, our availability. So everyone can like, follow, and share. While you're like scrolling, like, follow, and share to help educate one more person.
And I love that too because I think that that's really interesting that you broke that down that way because you don't have to be directly involved with domestic violence to assist or aid those in domestic violence.
Yeah.
You can help in so many different ways that are just not. I love the saying that you repeated a couple times, many hands make light work, right?
Yeah.
So like, I feel like for anybody listening, you have to go find Pralines_backyard. First off, number one, okay? You got to go find it and you have to like, comment, and share every social media platform. That's what we're asking.
Yeah.
This is what every woman who is experiencing domestic violence and has a pet is asking right now. Is for you to do that. Okay? So that you can show up. That's very easy. You can show up that way for them. But in addition to that, dig around in your pockets. See if you got $5, see if you got $10, $100, whatever you want to do. Go over to PralinesBackyardFoundation.org and donate.
Yeah.
Because it's such a great cause. And 10 million people, if you're listening, just have the conversation. Did you know that there's an organization that helps domestic violence victims house their pets during transition? Like, did you know that?
Yeah.
Did you even know or think about prior to right now that this is a thing, right?
Mm.
Had you ever thought about the animal part of when a woman is trying to leave safely, right? And I'm a transparent person, so I'm all about owning my what Steve Farber calls it oh shit moments, right?
Okay.
In public. And so I'm one of those people that, like, if I don't know something or I'm ignorant towards something, I'm the first person to say, okay, I'm ignorant towards this. I want to know more. I want to correct that course. And I think that that's really what you've done here today for me, and I'm hoping for people who have listened as well, is that it's it's so nuanced. There are animals, and I love animals. Let's protect the animals. Let's help Orzi with their nationwide network of fosters
Yes.
and kennels,
Hmm.
right? Um, protect animals and also just not secondary wound trauma survivors,
Yeah.
right? That's the other part. They're housing and getting them back. So what's next for you and the organization?
Well, our goal over the next 2 years is to raise funds to help develop an app so that a survivor can go into this app, self-identify, say they need housing for their pet, and different social service agencies can support them. And one of the Pralines Backyard Foundation, they say that I have a pet, I need housing for my pet. Then we can say, okay, then we can have pet board facilities that have access to the app and say, hey, yeah, we can house the survivor's pet. And then we have a fosters that can access this app as well. And they say, oh, I live close to this. I still live in this area where the survivor is asking for assistance. I want to sign up to be a foster for the survivor's pet. I just want to create an app that allows everyone to succinctly support the survivor and what they need is. So that's our goal
Love that.
over the next 2 years. Yeah.
I love that.
Any app developers out there, please reach out. We want to provide some services.
There you go. That's another way you can support.
Yeah.
Is developers, programmers, design, UX, all of that sort of thing.
Yes.
Reach out, support, help a good cause.
Definitely.
Orzi, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
I really, really appreciate it. Atlanta, Georgia, I've never been. I want to visit.
Come on.
Absolutely. You seem like a very upbeat, just lovely person. You're just doing great work.
Thank
right?
you.
So I think, yeah, I hope that you have continued success. I'm going to like, comment, and share once we finish out this evening. For me, I guess it's this evening for you as well now, right? You're Central?
I'm Eastern.
Yes. Oh, you're Eastern. Right. I'm bad at geography. Not going to lie. I thought you were over further, but okay. All right. So thank you very much for joining. And for everybody listening, make sure you do go visit pralinesbackyardfoundation.org and follow, like, share Pralines_backyard. And Pralines, just in case anyone missed it, is your dog's name.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And she's over here licking herself at the moment. So, yeah.
A dog will be a dog, right?
Definitely.
But they're so cute. All right. Thank you so much for being here. And I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
For media and sponsorship inquiries, email info@cksims.com or visit cksims.com and fill out the contact form. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. A new episode airs every Saturday. CKS Media.